today we are going to investigate one simple question, and that is why is it important to find your passion as early as possible? So here's the plan for today. I would first share my own story because I did not find passion early. I wish it happened to me earlier, but it didn't. So I want to share with you what it looks like if you do not find your passion early enough. And then we will talk about all the benefits of starting early as possible. And I would talk about the concept of a battle. Okay. And so before I mentioned about how I fought a battle against my mom did not let me be a teacher after college graduation. And I would like to share what it's like to fight a battle and how this kind of battle it's quite necessary to confirm your passion. Okay? So let's go ahead and get started on why is it important to find your passion as early as possible. So I discovered my passion. If you listened to part 1 of episode 4, I discovered my passion somewhat late, and it was 2005. So I was 20 years old, almost 21 years old. And yeah, I would consider this as late. And of course, there are people who are, either discovering their passion later or somewhat unfortunate would be able to find their passion. Okay. So let me go ahead and start with my story first. I'll try to be concise and show you all the important parts. Now, I only found out my passion in the second semester of my third year. So overall, it's very costly. It's very costly because it delayed my graduation for 1 year. I had to pay one extra year of tuition, and not only tuition, all the expenses along with, staying in college. So that's very costly, and money. It's not the most important thing. Time is the most important thing. Okay, so it is very important to start early to minimize the cost. The later you find your passion, the more costly it's going to be. But at the same time, I would also share the other very important aspect of finding passion late in life, and that it's the mental state. Now, I can recall that when I was in my junior year, my mind was all about going for graduate school, getting a PhD in chemistry, not thinking much about passion. There's no passion at that point. It was just a path. It was just a path for me to keep walking, keep a ladder that I would keep climbing. No idea what it is like to say, oh, I need to do something that I love. If you recall from the previous episode or previous parts of the episode, I kept mentioning Dr. Stephen Palumbi on how I heard what he said that do whatever you love to do and someone will pay you to do whatever you love to do. That happened after I discovered my passion. I'm sorry, in teaching. So before my switch to teaching, before I discovered my passion, I was in a chronic panic. Yeah, I think this would be a good description of my mental state chronic panic. I went to classes, not doing well. At that time, I was working as a volunteer intern, whatever you would call it, unpaid intern. It would be a better word to describe it. I was working in an organic chemistry lab more than 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, sometimes 6 days a week. And I performed all the work, but I had no idea. I literally had no idea where I'm getting or where I'm heading to, what I'm getting out of it. I was not really learning. I could still remember the smell of the chemistry building. Like even until now, 20 years later, if I go into the building, it would draw my memory out from my brain and all those dark days that I would walk into the building And I got scared, very scared, because I had no idea what my professor would talk to me, would tell me. Probably something like, William, why are you doing here? William, I thought you wanted to do chemistry. William, how come you don't know this? William, if you want to do chemistry, you should have known this for a long, long time. Yeah, that was failure, major failure in my life. And I think sometimes it takes a failure to realize that I needed to make a move. So the mental state, it was bad. It was very bad. It was depressing. And I had no idea it was depression, by the way. Now, I didn't go to a psychiatrist or psychologist to verify my little mental disorder, but it fits all the description of a depression person. That it's, I have no idea why I would be so tired, even though I slept like 8 to 10 hours a day, but I would get exhausted before noon. Didn't know it was depression. That was my first ever experience of this kind of depressive um, journey. So it was terrible. It's terrible. So I think I can use myself as a little small data point to share with you as a reference that finding out passion late, it's not a fun thing. Okay, you have so many things converging to you. Like you have parents asking you, like, so what are you gonna do? You have pressure from within that you know you need to get a job, right? In the future, after graduation. What kind of job are you gonna get? Are you capable of landing a job? Look at you. You suck. Do you think you will get a job? Are you dreaming? It's not gonna happen. All these questions are just compressing all sides of me, and I was not living happily. I was not. So that's the reason why I made this particular episode. I would like to share all the details that I need to highlight why it is important to have passion, to find your passion, to discover your passion as early as possible. Okay, so that's the negative side. All right. So now let's go ahead, look at a brighter side. Okay, let's be optimistic for the next 10, 20 minutes. Okay. So what are some benefits of finding your passion earlier, as early as possible? Okay. What are the benefits? Now, first, as I said earlier, the later it is, the more costly it's going to be. Okay. Like if you say, oh, I would start finding my passion after college graduation, the cost, it's going to be tremendous because you have to change your direction, possibly changing your career path. Now, some people could be very lucky, like the cost could be minimal, but it's not common. Okay. Like if you are having this reflection moment, your little mid-20s, okay, quarter life crisis, you start thinking about what am I doing? What am I supposed to do? That is a very costly move to switch path. But when you are early, ooh, your cost, it's fairly minimal. Because if you say, oh, I tested this path, I don't quite like it. Cool. Go ahead, explore another path. Nobody can guarantee you how many trials you would need in order to find your passion. And sometimes you might have tried it, but you did not realize that that was your passion, just like me. I tutored, right? I tutored in my early college years, but I didn't know. So that's why you need more data points. The earlier, the better. You have more time to try, you have more time to, you know, change up your mind, explore. So it offers all kinds of benefits if you start early. Now, here's a conflict that I see as a high school teacher, and that is in school, a lot of times we have this culture or atmosphere that is, oh, you got to focus on your academics. I mean, yes, but what I also see in reality is that a lot of teachers, they are not helping. Well, they are not helping in a few ways. They are not helping by not really teaching to the best quality. I was just talking to another student yesterday that talking about the math teacher, the student. has right now from a school that I didn't teach in, but it was not a good or not as good as the school that I was teaching at. She described that her teacher, her math teacher, would just write things on a screen from her piece of paper. There's zero explanations on the math concepts. Well, I mean, that's kind of hard to induce interest if the teacher it's like that. Okay. If the teacher is like that, that's just, very discouraging. Okay. You discover your passion by some positive interactions and experience. I became a high school teacher because I had, very fortunately, a good bunch of great high school teachers. They were the role models that I could use as a reference. And at the same time, I would also say this too. I thank those bad teachers because they are the negative examples, the counter examples, okay, to show me what not to do. Or they gave me the critique, they gave me the opportunity to critique what bad teaching is so that I know what not to do as a teacher. So that's one. Okay, teacher quality. It's somewhat subpar, and I think I can say this for quite a lot of for a lot of schools and a lot of teachers. Number two, the atmosphere, like how teachers are like making tests, and then you have to score high to play this GPA game. And the focus in school, at least in a lot of schools that I know or that I worked with, or the students that I work with in those schools, they are not emphasizing in helping kids, helping students to find their passion. No. Now, a good friend of mine, his daughter, they're in Austin. Their way of teaching and the way of learning, students' way of learning, it's quite different. They focus on entrepreneurship. They focus on project-based learning. Now that is wonderful. Now, as you know, if you listen to my previous parts of the episode 4, I graduated from UTeach. And one thing about UTeach is that we advocate project-based learning. And for my own teaching, I try to enforce that as well, implement this as well, because when you work on a project, it's more real. You have a lot of room. You have opportunities to try and to modify and to improve. Well, that's great. That's what learning is. But a lot of schools are very quote unquote traditional. You quote unquote learn and you take a quiz, you take a test, you get a score, move on. There are not many chances of trial and error. And what's worse is that, now, at least what I can say from my school, the school that I used to teach, they have this preset mentality, or the school and the teachers, they have this kind of preset mentality. And that is, oh, if I let kids do test corrections, or if I let kids retake the test, they are going to game the system. And then there will be so much workload for the teachers, and then the kids are not really learning anyways. Now, I understand their point of view. I do understand. But what I want to insert right here is that, well, the reason why they would game the system is because someone did not do their part in teaching properly. If kids learned, I have this very simple example. Okay. If I teach addition and every single student understands the rules of addition, the way how addition works, and then there's a test on, addition. I would say most kids, most students, they would do very well. They would not say, well, because I have a chance to retake, I'm going to bomb this test, even though they could ace it. Like that argument just does not stand well, that the kids are trying to game the system. Something happened before the kids game the system. So this is the atmosphere part, the culture parts that school it's not really helping. And then the kids are like, "Oh, what's your GPA? What's your rank?" So it takes away your emphasis that passion is really more important than GPA. Passion is what sustains you to keep yourself on track in this pursuit of career path, the pursuit of perfection, satisfaction in your life, whether it's academic or career wise. All right. So school it's not helping for the most part. So that's why we lost the focus. That's why a lot of kids are clueless in finding out passion. And that's also the reason why a lot of students don't realize how important it is. Now, another thing about starting early, okay, is that if you listened to episode 3 when I was talking about extracurricular activities, I mentioned about a book written by Malcolm Gladwell. The book name it's called The Outliers, and it mentioned about the 10,000 hour rules. As I said, 10,000 hours would be approximately 8 to 10 years. Okay, and you need to devote this amount of time in order to achieve a little mini expert status. That's just what seems to be a trend, a pattern. Okay. And what a lot of students do not understand is that when do you start accumulating the hours needed for the 10,000 hours quota? Okay. The threshold. Now, for me, I started really late, like 2005, as I said, right? I figured out that I would like to be a teacher. I modified my degree plan. I started taking education classes. That's the moment I started accumulating my 10,000 hours. And after teaching for 8 to 10 years, I worked tirelessly. I improved my teaching skills, my content knowledge. Then I would say, yeah, I am now a mini expert. When I see a student who is struggling, I can pretty much pinpoint where students would need help to improve their performance. I've seen enough data points. I've seen enough failures, and I have helped enough students to go from, failing to improving to perfecting. So that's really important that you start clocking in your 10,000 hours as early as possible. But what counts? What counts as these hours? Okay. Now, let me give you a few examples. As long as you are very serious doing something towards that career goal or your passion, it counts. It counts when you start reading books about that career path, your dream job, your dream destination, right, if you will. That counts. If you start putting in efforts to make your own personal projects, like for example, you like to be a computer scientist, you want to be a programmer. The first moment you start tinkering with codes, programs, like nowadays with AI, you can do vibe coding. If you say, hey, I want to be a doctor, then the moment you start reading books about diseases, journeys of doctors, those all count because these are the work that you need to deepen your understanding of that field. And these hours that you are accumulating will give you a good indicator or even a strong indicator of whether or not you are on track to your desired path. Now, I mentioned about my cousin who is very good in playing the piano. Well, she started very early. She practices every single day. She would complain about being so bored in school. She would rather go home and practice with her piano. Now, I couldn't say the same, even though I used to play the piano, but I would never say such thing because I just did not like to play the piano. But she would. And if you wonder, like, oh, I'm jealous of this guy or this girl who can be so successful so early. Well, there's a reason. Okay. It's not like buying lottery. When they put in hours, so many hours, hundreds, thousands of hours, quality hours, by the way. All right. So I want to emphasize on the word quality right here because some people would be like, "Oh, I put in 10,000 hours, I got nowhere." Okay, it got to be quality hours, and it is very subjective. I mean, I could give an objective way to qualify these hours. I mean, do you gain knowledge? Do you gain expertise knowledge while you are accumulating those hours, doing all those work? Okay. And subjectively, are you enjoying those time while you accumulate your 10,000 hours? Because you cannot say like, "Oh, I worked in McDonald's for 10,000 hours and I'm still stuck right there as a cashier." Well, because those hours, they are not really quality hours. That doesn't count. All right. Those hours don't count towards your 10,000 hours, unfortunately. Okay. And the other thing is when you spend enough time, you also allow the little luck factor. I mean, we are all lucky at some point. Okay. We need some sort of luck. But at the same time, I would also tell my students, and now you, the audience, and that is luck is reserved for the prepared. So keep in mind that you need to accumulate 10,000 hours. And the earlier, the better. If you read some successful people's biographies, like Steve Jobs, Elon Musk's, as an example, you will find out how early they start seriously playing with, like for Steve Jobs, would be computer. For Elon Musk, it would be for engineering. All right. They started very early. And that's what allowed them to be successful. And they experienced major failures too. But starting early gives them time to fix the problems, to explore, to confirm whether or not they are on the correct path. So make sure that if you have not started, start thinking about doing something substantial to accumulate your 10,000 hours so that you will be successful 8 to 10 years from now or from whenever you started clocking in your time. And now the final part. It's about battle. Now, when you start your passion discovery process early, you would have time to fight the battle. You have time to confirm your passion. And let me go ahead and elaborate more about the idea of battle and how it is necessary while you are on your path to seek your passion. Now, as I said earlier, my mom did not approve my proposal to be a teacher because of the pay. It's not good. And we had a fight. We had a major fight. She hung up on me, and then we didn't talk for a day, and then we compromised by agreeing that I would pursue a master degree while I'm teaching. Now, after graduation, I was a teacher and I had lots of fun, lots of positive experience. I won awards in teaching. And the first few years of my career, I would often think this. I thought that, if I listened to my mom to not be a teacher, I really don't know where I would be, where I would end up. Probably not in the US. Probably got sent back to Hong Kong because I couldn't really find a job with my mediocre GPA. And I would tease my mom and I said, if I did not fight my battle, if I listened to you, I would be nobody. I would go nowhere. So that would be the first few years after uh, graduation, the first few years of my teaching career. And then I realized something. I realized that actually I should thank my mom for rejecting my idea at the first place. And here's the reason why I would need to thank her for this battle, because I realized that we all need this kind of battle to confirm our passion. Our path, it's never smooth, never. Like if there's no major challenge, no major failure, that it's not your path yet. Like when you embark on whatever journey that you decide to go for, you should know that there will be some major challenges ahead of you. You should anticipate this. Okay. And you really want to, because that is the reason how, well, I mean, for me, that was the reason how I could be so sure that I'm very dedicated to teaching. After 17 years of teaching, I am still very passionate in teaching. The fire that has been burning, it burns stronger and stronger, day after day, year after year. I can confirm this fact. Without the battle, like for example, if I hear any student saying like, "Oh, I would like to be a doctor." Now, of course, I would critique them. I would challenge them. I say, "So what do you know? What do you know about medicine?" And if they were not able to provide a satisfactory answer, then I would say, "Are you sure you want to be a doctor?" Now, I'm not trying to discourage you, but I'm just asking, "Are you sure you want to be a doctor?" Because you don't sound like you are somebody who wants to be a doctor. So I am initiating a battle, a small one, a very small one. I'm poking, okay? I'm poking you. I would like to see if you are interested in fighting this battle. I would go as far as saying, you're not going to be a doctor. Then what? Are you going to say, yeah, maybe I'm not a doctor. I should consider something else. Or are you going to say, are you going to think like, well, I am going to be a doctor. I just didn't get serious for this consideration. But hey, I'm going to start today to seriously engage myself in the field of, say, medicine. Starting from today, I'm going to accumulate my hours and my knowledge. Starting from today, I will train myself to become an expert, whether it's from formal schooling or just from, reading on the side. You need this battle. We all need this battle. In the previous part of this episode, I also mentioned about how Steve Jobs had major failures. Those are his battles. He fought so fiercely in those battles. He had firm belief, firm values to continue his fight. He did not back down simply because of his negative experience. And I think this is why we all need to understand this like, yeah, failure, it's a good thing. But too many parents, schools, teachers, they did not provide a safe space for failing. And therefore, we are conditioned to hate failure. And then we are avoiding these battles. We are not able to confirm our passion. You see how the society, the environments, the culture, the atmosphere, they are not helping. And that is the reason why I need to speak up, to share what I know so that students are getting this piece of knowledge sooner. Everything that I am sharing right here on this podcast, in all these episodes, they are all the words that I wish somebody would have told me much, much earlier. And these are the words that I need to make sure that my son, who is 3 years old right now, would know somewhat earlier. Okay, of course, I cannot tell him right now. He won't make any sense on what I'm saying, but at least I need to make a copy of it so that if he's ready, the materials are here. So be ready to fight this battle. Start early so that you have time to fight these battles. Find your passion as early as possible so that you have plenty of time to fail, to search, to explore, to overcome obstacles. And also, you are creating your own story. When you take on this journey to find your passion, you are the narrator of your journey. You are making a wonderful, unique story that will definitely inspire other people. I guarantee you. Because one thing that I notice is that all successful people, they got at least one story to share. At least one story. What is yours? It's time to make your story a reality. Okay, so after 4 parts of this episode, I would like to have a little summary. As I was recording all these episodes, I was also thinking a lot of things like what I must say in these, episodes. And that's one question that hit my mind, and that is passion a privilege? Is passion a privilege? I think that's a very valid question because there are people like, oh, Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, all right, all these successful people. Well, they had privilege to begin with. They had resources to begin with. Yes. My cousin, who is very good in playing the piano, she is a little bit privileged too, because her mom is a piano teacher. But I would also argue that it's not exclusively about privilege. Privilege could get you farther, get you started sooner compared to others. But there are a lot of things that, especially nowadays, when information is so accessible, I would say privilege, it's a factor, but it's not a determining factor. Privilege, it's good to have, but without privilege, you're not doomed. Now, I would say luck, it's a factor because, like for me, it is my luck to have great high school teachers. Nobody can guarantee a good high school teachers. So luck, it's a tremendous factor. But when you start opening your eyes, when you are aware of what is going on around you, then you will realize that opportunities are actually everywhere. Nowadays, we all have smartphones. You have access to the internet, fast internet, right? Back in my days, I had to use something called a dial-up modem that is what 50K or 26 kilobytes per second. Now it's like 100 or 500 or gigabyte per second. It's different. So I would say we're all getting the privilege of being in a modern society. We are all getting privileged to have easy access to people, information, stories, but luck, it's a huge factor, I must admit. And that's the reason why you need to start early, as I mentioned earlier. The earlier you start, then the more likely that you will have luck on your side. One more thing that I would like to reiterate, to emphasize again, is that please do understand flow that I mentioned in the previous parts of the episode. Please do understand the theory of flow, the theory of optimal experience. Now, I want to be a bit more technical right here to explain what a theory is. Now, academically, theory is something that gives you the power to explain. It's not like in our daily language, like, oh, I got a theory. No, that's a hypothesis, to be honest. That's not a theory. A theory is tested, it gives you the power to explain. That's a theory. And by understanding the theory of flow experience, it gives you a different lens to analyze the events and the people around you. It does. When you see people being successful, you inevitably will witness flow experience from them. When you become successful, you inevitably are enjoying flow experience all the time. Without flow experience, there is practically no chance for anyone to become an expert. There is practically no chance for anyone to enjoy, to feel satisfied about their life. No way. And that's why I always, share. I have a book, the book of the flow. I have it at my learning center. I would always, when I have a chance, I would always recommend students, please, if you have time, read this book. Read it. I do not like to read books, and I recommend you to read this book. And I hope that highlights how crucial it is, how much I value about this book. Okay, so understand flow. What is your flow experience? Where do you find your flow? What kind of in-depth questions you're asking, and you are also seeking the answers for those questions with a strong flow. That's how you know you have a path towards your passion. So that's the end of part 4 of episode 4 on passion. So let's go ahead and preview what's on episode 5. Now, episode 5 is going to be a 3-part series on how to write college essay. Now, there are 3 roles you are going to play while you are writing your college essay. And here are the 3 roles that you will perform. Number 1, you are going to be an engineer. Okay, I don't care if you are considering an engineering major, but you will be an engineer. Number 1. Number 2, of course, you are a writer. I would give you some, tips and knowledge about how to be a good writer. And 3, you are going to be a film director. These are the 3 roles that you are going to play while you are composing your personal statements, college essays, your supplements, everything. That is the idea on perfecting your college essays. So stay tuned. Don't miss out on how to write a great college essay. All right. Make sure you tune in for episode 5. Thank you so much for staying with me for the entire episode on passion. I hope you like it. I hope you get something very substantial. And just a reminder, your action is very important. My words are just there to remind you. Your action is what truly makes a difference. So please, if you are still searching your passion, start now. Okay? Do not procrastinate. Do not waste time. The earlier you find your passion, the happier, the more fulfilled, the more satisfied you will be at the end. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next episode. Thank you.